What an exciting afternoon ahead of us right now. I'm talking with one of my biggest buddies in the world, Mario Arrizon from Riverside, California. How are you doing, Mario?
I'm doing great, Uncle Larry. I don't even consider you a friend. I consider you family. So thank you so much for the honor. I'm excited to share today.
It's great to see you and see the pictures of those boys growing up behind you and
Yeah,
Franny, your wife. Boy, they're
yeah.
getting big. And, you know, you have so much to offer people. That's why you're in demand all over the country. And I'm sure you're thanking goodness for Zoom because you saved you a lot of travel. But Mario's a guy that has got people pulling at him nonstop to add energy, excitement, insight into their organization so they can grow. And, if you're smart, you'll draft off people that are ahead of you and pick up their energy, their spirit, and their focus. And so, Mario, people who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself? I know I can probably add some things in, but what would you want people to know about where you started and how far the road up was? Because just so people know, Mario right now has an organization all over the West, probably most states in the United States. He's got he's got dozens of $100,000 earners. He's got offices everywhere. They're growing by leaps and bounds. He's led the company in growth for many, many years in his industry. And that's why he's in demand for people like, have you ever heard of John Maxwell, the biggest selling non-fiction writer in the world? John's always knocking on his door trying to get Mario come and speak in his meetings. And so it's because Mario knows what he's talking about and he does it himself. And so he's got the family, he's got the whole package put together, and without losing momentum, he's been able to expand in these areas. So Mario, let people know what you want them to know about how you came up.
Thank you for that, Larry. I really appreciate that. It's very humbling hearing that from your hero growing up and you talking so nice about me and, and saying some great things. And guys, it's very humbling because I do come from very humble beginnings. And my mom actually had me, Larry, when she was 15 years of age. And we struggled, Larry. Most people don't know that my mom was only 15 years of age when I was born. And my father and her, unfortunately, didn't realize how tough it was probably, but it was me and my little brother, Johnny. And my parents got a divorce when I was only 5 years of age, Larry, and we struggled. And Larry, when I tell you we struggled to a point that we were homeless, living in a van with my mother at one point because everyone told her, Mary Lou, you're going to be like every other Hispanic young lady and living off the government and this. And she's like, there's no way I'm going to do that. So she had pride. She had her, but because she was so young, they would give her minimum wage jobs and she couldn't keep up. So Larry, my mom showed me work ethic. She showed me like, no, I'm not going to be in the system. I'm going to do something. And Larry, it gave me a drive. I remember as a little kid, just praying to God, saying, God, why do you hate me so much? Why'd you take away my hero from me? That's my father. Why are we so poor? Because kids used to make fun of my hair, my clothing, where I live, Larry. And I told God, you took away my hero. We're so poor and I'm short. Like, come on, God, at least make me tall. Give me something, right? But you know what he was doing, Larry? He was preparing me for my destiny, that I never forget where I come from. No matter how many millions I make, no matter how many people I impact, I never forget where I come from, to never look down on anybody just because I'm doing better, because I know that feeling, Larry. I remember little kids making fun of me or looking down at me because they had a little bit more. And it gave me a drive like you wouldn't believe. I wanted to make my mom proud. Larry, I've never shared this with you, but my grandmother, because she was scared for my mom, she was pushing her and family members like, Mary Lou, you're going to throw away that child's life and your life. You need to give him up for adoption or abort him. My mom ran away at a very young age from home because she wanted to save my life.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm very grateful she did. Larry,
There's
I get
hundreds of thousands of people that are very grateful she did.
God is so good, Larry. God is so good. Even my father, he was so young. He was scared. He's like, hey, so he asked my mom, so what are we going to do? And she's like, what do you mean? What are we going to do? I'm going to keep my baby. And even, you know, my dad, I don't blame him. He was young, but man, thank God my mom was pro-life and chose to keep me. And Larry, I feel with everything in my life, everything in my soul. I can be tired, Larry, but I start talking about people, about my story, to inspire them, to give them hope. And it's unbelievable how the Lord fills up my cup. And suddenly I have all this energy because I know I'm inspiring something in them. I'm sparking something in somebody. And Larry, I know what I was built to do. And it was to inspire people, to give people hope, to show them like, it doesn't matter where you come from. Stop pointing the finger at your parents, at your country, at your president, at your gut. Stop blaming everybody. Stop pointing the finger. And guess what? Every time you point the finger, there's 3 fingers pointing right back at you. And you got to take responsibility. We come from nothing, Larry, from the worst of the worst. But you know what? My mom did not raise me that way. My father did not raise me that way, that we're victims. He said, hey, you know, we're going to do something about this. And I believe with everything in me that we live in the greatest country in the world. Is it perfect? No way. But it's the greatest country in the world. They can take a kid that was homeless at one point, that had a teenage mother, and became a multi-millionaire, and shows a lot of people how to do the same thing. Was it easy? Absolutely not. Was it worth it? I wish you can see the smile on my face. Those that are listening to audio. It is beyond worth it.
And how did you, at a young age, you know, you're turning to God, which, by the way, folks, don't toss that away. When you get in your biggest hour of need, don't you turn to God? Why not turn to God before you get to your worst moment? You know what I'm saying? Because Omar said the same thing when he was a young child. He had the problem with stuttering. It was like God was punishing him, and you know, he figured out, he got the answer that no, I'm giving you stuttering to make you tough for what I've got in front of you in the future. You know, that was at 8 years old for him, for Omar. And I tell you that because you two are big buddies, you know, but he
Yes, I
went through
love
the
that.
same thing as a child. And what did you hang, you know, as a child, you just do as you're told, right? You know, you go to school, you do this, that, the other, but there are times in between your schedule that even as a child, and you're dependent upon your mother, and you have to do what you're told to do, there you still can put extra in. You still have the latitude. You still have gaps in the system when you're not supervised, where you can do either be a goof off and screw around and make friends with the wrong kind of people and get involved in things that tear you down, or you can do things that are positive. You can, like, you know, let yourself get interested in and learn about different things. And what was going on in between on your formative years? What was driving you? Was there a curiosity about different things? Was there a curiosity about certain aspects of life in between? You know, from a day-to-day thing, what were the impulses beating inside of you, driving you forward?
You know what? The same thing that was supposed to break me made me. And you know, it's your perspective in life. See, a lot of, unfortunately, I'm not going to mention any names, but there's someone that grew up with the same parents in the same neighborhood in the same circumstances. And you know what they look back at? They asked him or her, say, hey, why'd you turn out this way? And you know what they responded?
What?
Well, look at my life. I was forced to work as a child. I didn't have a normal childhood. We grew up this way and this way. Of course, when I turned 18, I just went crazy. And I had, and you know what I said? The opposite. Well, look at my life.
Right.
I was taught work ethic since a little kid, Larry. I would sell teddy bears and flowers in street corners when it was holidays, for I can help my mother. On the weekends, I used to work at a flea market. We call them swap meets over here in Southern California, where kids would sleep in on the weekends. I would have to wake up earlier, Larry. So I got taught work ethic. I got taught that on weekends, when most people take off, on holidays when people take off, that's where the greats make money. And I'm like, that's where you separate yourself. And those little things right there prepared me for that. What motivated me, Larry? I didn't want to be broke. I know, like, wow, is it all about money? No, but I was tired of seeing my mom struggle. I was tired of living the life that I can afford, you know, giving my kids and my wife and my mother a life that I can afford instead of the life that they deserve. And this was my shot. This was my shot that if I knew that if I put it on my back and I work my tail off, Larry, people work overtime for a job for someone else's last name, but they won't do it for their own last name. They won't even clock in 8 hours worth of work, and they expect to make $1 million a year. Everyone wants $1 million lifestyle, but has a minimum wage mindset. It doesn't click. You got to make sure for a period of time, you give it everything you've got. And that's what drives me on the days, Larry, on the days that I doubted, that I feared, that I didn't think I was good enough. You know what? I always remember why I started. I want to make my parents proud. I want to be the go-to person in my family. I want to have an unbelievable life. And I knew if I do what most people won't, I would have that life. And I did it. And we did it together.
Well, the thing is that you were basically, you were given a gift through all of this of having to go out and make your own money. And I've heard that, you know, at some point I'd like to put out a book about from like great parents do different things with their kids. It's not like they just fall out of bed and their kids are great. Sometimes that happens, but you know, usually they have little things they did, and nobody's got them all, you know, but somehow an idea came to them and they did this with their kids and they had this result and all. And one thing I heard from one of those people that had success with their kids is that you can't overemphasize the importance of letting a child earn their own money early in their life and get that satisfaction of being out there and not just daddy's money, this money, you know, like, like Randy Godfrey said, his son came home, he's an RVP now, but he said his son came home and he said, you know, I feel awkward, Dad, at school, you know, because I'm like the rich kid, you know, and they see my life and this where I live and this. And Randy said, he said, you're not rich. He said, I'm rich. You got nothing.
I love that. I love that.
So you got nothing to feel bad about, you know? So
Larry,
talk about that, how that transformed you.
Yes, Larry, I'm so grateful. No one has perfect parents, but man, my parents come close to that, both of them. I got my dad back in my life. It was an ugly divorce. That's why I didn't see my dad for a long time, but I got my father back in my life. He's the one that actually made me get into financial services, by the way. He didn't even give me a choice. He's like, Mario, I think you would be great at this. And he signed me up and helped me pay for my license before I even knew what it was. But both of my parents taught me work ethic at a very young age. They didn't just hand it to me. They say, hey, I'm like, I want these shoes. I want this. Well, what are you going to do about it? I'm like, well, can you give it to me like other kids? Like, no, you got to earn it. Let's go to Los Angeles. And this is what we would do. Back in the days, there was this thing that was hot that were called Pogs. And it was the hottest thing with the kids. So I would they would lend me money, say, hey, I'm going to lend you $100. And I had to pay it back to them. So they lent me $100. I would buy Pogs and I would sell them at school. And then there was Pokemon cards. And then I would get Pokemon cards. I would turn my money. I give my parents their investment back. I would get Pokemon cards and I would sell Pokemon cards at school. Then it was lasers. Then one time, Larry, it was 4th of July and I found out how I can get fireworks, and I was selling fireworks and I got in trouble, man. I even got suspended from school because of that. But I was always an entrepreneur. Everybody in school knew if you wanted candy, if you needed things, I was the plug, man. I had my backpack full of stuff, always selling things, always moving, because I was tired of being broke. And before you know it, I even started building a team, Larry. I built a team of my friends, like, hey, I need to make some extra money. And I started like, all right, you're going to get this percentage. I get this percentage because I'm doing the investment. And I had a team, people selling pins, pogs, candy, and coming to me. And we started building a team. So I always had that entrepreneur mindset since I was a kid, because we didn't have, I didn't have the privilege of just asking my parents. That's what we did. And it changed everything for me.
Well, Mario, thanks so much for opening up and sharing this really, really deep. I've heard you talk about your father before, but I never knew that he abandoned you early on, and your family, your parents were divorced early in the game, and I
Yeah.
never knew about your mother being so young. And it just shows so many things. We'll let people take their own lessons away from that, but I can't thank you enough, Mario. Fantastic.
My pleasure, Larry. Thank you so much for giving me the honor to be on, and I look forward to sharing more.